Excellency Mr. Abdullah Shahid, President of the 76th Session of the United Nations General Assembly, Your Excellency Mr. Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, Excellency General Prayut Chan-o-cha, Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Thailand, Your Excellency Mr. Vijavat Sarabhakdi, Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom of Thailand, and Chair of the 78th Session of the Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, Madam Executive Secretary, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor and pleasure to join you virtually today at the opening of the 78th Session of the Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, ESCAP, in the magnificent city of Bangkok. This is a historic session marking the culmination of the commemorations of the 75th anniversary of ESCAP, founded in March 1947 as the Economic Commission for Asia and the Far East by the United Nations Economic and Social Council, ECOSOC, which I currently lead as its president. The 78th session is held at a crucial time for the world and for the global development agenda, as many countries are still coping with the devastating impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. Governments throughout the world are considering their options on how best to emerge from the health crisis and to rebuild their societies and economies in an inclusive, more sustainable, and just manner while battling the triple planetary crisis of climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. In this respect, I'm very pleased that member states in Asia and the Pacific region have demonstrated their commitment to the effective implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development by being the first region to develop a roadmap to implement this agenda. The societal effects of the pandemic have been devastating. Millions of families have lost loved ones and caretakers. Businesses and enterprises have lost leaders and workers. Entire sectors of the economy have witnessed dramatic drop in activity, sometimes closing down altogether. The road to recovery is still long for many of us, and for this we need equity of vaccine distribution and access. No one is safe until we are all safe to continue with our lives without disruptions. At the same time, complex geopolitical situations around us have devastating consequences. UNCTAD estimates that the world economy will be a full percentage point of GDP growth lower than expected due to the war in Ukraine, which is severely disrupting already tight food, energy, and financial markets. FAO has shown that food prices are 34% higher than this time last year, and crude oil prices have increased by around 60%. And gas and fertilizer prices have more than doubled. This has come to the detriment of many countries dependent on food and fuel imports for their populations, including notably my own region, Africa. Therefore, the theme of the 70th session, namely a common agenda to advance sustainable development in Asia and the Pacific, could not be more appropriate. I have taken note with much interest of the theme study for the session. It is describing ways to achieve more inclusive and sustainable post-pandemic recovery. It rightly identifies elements for a common agenda for present and future generations centered on protecting people and planet, leveraging digital opportunities, trading and investing more together, raising financial resources, and managing debt. And it justly underlines the need to listen and work with the young people, placing women at the center for policy actions and people-centered partnerships. We must find ways to cooperate and deal with the effects of conflict and pandemic. We must find creative, peaceful, and long-term solutions to these new challenges. As we do so, we should not lose sight of the vision that we agreed 7 years ago, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The 70th session of ESCAP will be an excellent opportunity to discuss on how we are going to address these new challenges and reshape the future of global and regional cooperation to realize the 2030 Agenda and the SDGs. We will no doubt need to renew our commitment to multilateralism, global solidarity, and regional cooperation. From my own perspective, regional cooperation is the first stop of support and solidarity. ESCAP, just like all the other UN Economic Commissions, has an extensive track record of mutually assisting its member states in terms of mutual responses, economic guidance, and technical support and regional standard setting. ESCAP, then called Economic Commission for Asia and Far East, was established in March 1947, as I said, by the ECOSOC, Resolution 37 Roman 9, as a subsidiary body of ECOSOC, with the aim to help the region rebuild after the war. The Commission provided governments of the region for the first time in history a platform to meet to discuss common economic problems, establish agreed principles of action, and carry out policies determined by mutual agreement. The region has come a long way since 1947, but the need to multilateralism and regional cooperation is as great today as it was 75 years ago. Currently, the ECOSOC Bureau is doing its part to ensure we make the best use of the coordinating function of the Council, in line with the General Assembly Resolution 75/290A. As you are aware, the Council oversees a complex system of functional commissions, expert bodies, as well as 5 regional commissions. Informal consultations on a set of thematic clusters are being concluded. Our discussions have been focused on 4 clusters. First, to make sure that the ECOSOC system, including its subsidiary bodies, continue to improve on and align itself with the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Second, we are reviewing the working methods of the subsidiary bodies and exploring how we can learn from best practices there. Third, coordination issues among subsidiary bodies are being addressed, including identifying possible areas for synergies. Fourth, we are exploring how the Council can best use the outcomes of its subsidiary bodies. This process will culminate with an agreement on a way forward at the ECOSOC management segment to take place next week from 8 to 9 June. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as all of our countries stand at the crossroad where sustainable recovery is within reach, the Commission will also offer a space to identify and discuss the mechanisms and the means to build the resilience of people and nations in Asia and the Pacific in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, and ensure nature-positive economic growth, inclusive societies, and protect the environment. Let me conclude by reminding you that the High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development, as the main review platform for implementation of the 2030 Agenda, is taking place in New York from 5th to 15th of July in person. As this Commission's meeting is crucial for this region, so is the HLPF for the global level. We will all come together at the HLPF to discuss our global response to the COVID-19 pandemic and which measures we can undertake to sustainable recovery through the implementation of the 2030 Agenda and the achievement of SDGs, specifically focusing on SDG 4 on education, 5 on gender, 14 on oceans, 15 on terrestrial biodiversity, and 17 on global partnership. And for this, we need regional views and contribution. 7 countries from your region are presenting VNRs this year. We are looking forward to learning where they are in their implementation of the 2030 Agenda and how they are recovering from the pandemic. Thus, I invite you all to come to New York, to the HLPF at the highest level possible, and contribute your perspective and global discussions. I thank you, and I look forward to engaging in the discussions with you and to learn more from your experiences. I thank you.